The blue escape pod tore through the Earth's atmosphere like a falling star, leaving a trail of white smoke against the Hawaiian sky before crashing violently into the dense jungle of Kauai. Out of the wreckage crawled a creature designed for nothing but chaos. With 6 arms, sharp spines, and eyes that burned with destructive energy, Experiment 626 looked out at the peaceful green world and saw only a blank canvas for destruction. He scrambled into the shadows, his claws tearing into the rich volcanic soil as he sought a place to hide and regroup. Miles away, in a small, weathered house overlooking the ocean, a young girl named Lilo sat on the floor of her bedroom, staring at a faded photograph of her parents. The house was quiet, too quiet since the accident that had taken them away. Her older sister, Nani, was in the kitchen, frantically sorting through past-due bills, while trying to prepare a meager dinner. The weight of the world rested heavily on Nani's young shoulders. She was fighting a losing battle against a strict social worker who believed a teenager could not properly raise an eccentric, grieving little girl. Lilo felt entirely isolated, her quirky behavior alienating her from the other children on the island, leaving her with a deep, aching emptiness that she didn't know how to fill. High above the island, an imposing shadow fell across the bridge of a cloaked Galactic Federation cruiser. Captain Gantu stood at the viewport, his massive reptilian jaw set in a hard line. Beside him, Pleakley, a slender, one-eyed alien specialist, nervously flipped through Earth data pads. Officially, Gantu was the Grand Commander sent to retrieve the dangerous experiment before it contaminated the protected planet. He put on a show of bureaucratic discipline for Pleakley, pretending to map out a careful, non-invasive extraction plan to protect the indigenous life forms. In reality, Gantu's loyalties had long since been bought. He was a ruthlessly ambitious mercenary, operating under the secret payroll of Dr. Jacques von Hemsterville. Gantu didn't care about galactic law, and he cared even less about the primitive humans on the surface. His true mission was to capture 626 alive, so his tiny benefactor could clone an unstoppable army. To ensure total control over the operation, Gantu secretly sabotaged his own ship's long-range communication arrays, making sure the Federation Council remained completely blind to his true actions on Earth. Gantu's hunt began under the guise of an ally. Adopting a cloaked, human-like holographic disguise, he approached Nani and Lilo under the pretense of a wandering animal control officer searching for a highly dangerous rabid stray. By this time, Lilo had already found 626 at the local shelter, mistaking him for an odd, ugly dog and naming him Stitch. Gantu offered Nani false sympathy, claiming he wanted to help her secure the dog before it caused damage that might alert the Social Services Department. Nani, desperate for any help to keep her family together, naively trusted the towering stranger, allowing Gantu to plant tracking devices around their home. But Stitch was not an easy target. His programming dictated destruction, and his early days in the household were defined by shattered dishes, torn curtains, and aggressive growls. Yet, instead of meting out punishment, the sisters responded with something Stitch's programming had never accounted for: unconditional patience. Nani worked double shifts at a local restaurant just to replace the items Stitch broke, while Lilo fiercely defended him, introducing him to the concept of Ohana, the sacred family bond where nobody gets left behind or forgotten. Stitch watched, deeply confused, as Nani sang traditional Hawaiian lullabies to Lilo to soothe her nightmares, wrapping her arms around the little girl in a display of fierce, protective warmth. Gantu watched these interactions through his hidden surveillance feeds, his cold heart completely unmoved. Seeing that the creature's destructive instincts were softening under the influence of human affection, Gantu grew impatient. He decided to escalate his tactics. Utilizing Pleakley's naive trust, Gantu convinced the specialist that the humans were holding the experiment hostage, authorizing a violent midnight raid on the beach where the family was attempting to teach Stitch how to surf. The attack was relentless. Gantu discarded his holographic disguise, his massive alien form bursting from the tree line with a heavy plasma cannon. He fired indiscriminately, vaporizing the sand and sending Nani and Lilo diving for cover. Stitch instinctively fought back, his extra arms bursting from his sides as he caught Gantu's plasma bolts and hurled them aside. But Gantu was a seasoned warrior. He targeted Nani, firing a concussive blast that shattered the nearby pier, trapping her under heavy wooden debris. As Stitch rushed to free Nani, Gantu intercepted him, slamming a heavy electrified containment net over the creature. Stitch roared in agony as the current surged through him. Lilo threw herself forward, biting Gantu's massive hand. But the ruthless captain backhanded her into the sand without a second thought. "Insignificant pests," Gantu growled, dragging the thrashing net toward his hidden transport ship. He didn't care that his violent outburst had completely destroyed Nani's chances with the social worker, who arrived just in time to see the flaming wreckage of the beach. Gantu retreated to an abandoned cliffside lighthouse, preparing to launch his transport vessel into orbit. Stitch was locked in a reinforced titanium cage, his energy draining from the continuous shocks. Gantu stood over him, sneering. "You were engineered to conquer worlds, and you reduced yourself to a pet for a broken family," Gantu mocked, priming the ship's engines. Before the ship could lift off, Nani and Lilo arrived on a salvaged jet ski, having tracked the energy signature of Gantu's cloaked vessel. Piercing through the storm, they breached the lighthouse hangar. Lilo managed to crawl through the ship's ventilation shaft, reaching the cargo bay and short-circuiting Stitch's cage with her parents' old camera battery. Freed, and fueled by a newly discovered power, the desire to protect his Ohana, Stitch unleashed a fury Gantu had never anticipated. Stitch didn't fight with mindless malice. He fought with tactical brilliance born of love. He hijacked Gantu's own plasma cannon, turning the heavy weapon against the ship's fuel lines. The resulting explosion threw Gantu across the deck, pinning the massive captain beneath his own command console. Galactic Federation reinforcement cruisers, alerted by the massive energy spike from Gantu's illegal weapon discharge, dropped out of hyperspace and surrounded the lighthouse. Armed guards flooded the hangar, placing the battered and defeated Gantu in heavy energy binders. Just as the authorities prepared to secure the perimeter, a tiny, spherical hoverpod descended through the smoke. Dr. Jacques von Hamsterville popped his head out of the hatch, his long, rabbit-like ears twitching with manic rage as he realized his prized mercenary had failed entirely. The Federation cruisers instantly locked their targeting lasers onto Hamsterville's tiny craft. Realizing he was outnumbered, Hamsterville glared down at the bound captain, shaking his tiny white paws in a fit of melodramatic fury. "You colossal, bumbling, redundant!" Hamsterville shrieked, his voice echoing off the metallic walls. "Do not think this is the end, Gantu. I will break us both out of the Federation's highest security sector, and then you will personally build me a new army." With a dramatic spin, Hamsterville's pod was dragged into a tractor beam, leaving Gantu to be led away into the dark, silent depths of a prison transport.